So, this is dialogue 2, and this is between Ejawusu and Kwabena. And it's important that you note that this is an older person, possibly old enough to be Kwabena's father. And that is key. In Ghana, when you are greeting someone or responding to someone who greeted you, you need to consider the age and status of the person who is greeting you or whom you are greeting. Ejawusu begins the conversation by greeting Kwabena. So Ejawusu says, Kwabena, machiu. Kwabena, machiu. Machi means good morning. Machi, good morning. And this is the short form. The full expression is memawo achi. Memawo achi. But you hear more of the short form. So we have machiu. Again, the O comes here to soften it, right? We have Kwabena machiu. And you can see he begins by calling out the person's name. And so henceforth, if you want to greet someone in the morning, you can say machiu. And I was telling the class that in Europe, I noticed that Ghanaians there, when they meet you, they greet you, oh, good morning, good afternoon, oh, good evening. But when you greet someone who is not a Ghanaian, especially the Europeans, if you greet them good morning, good afternoon, good evening, they look confused. They were looking at you as if they don't even know how to respond to you, because it's not a thing. It's not really a thing there. People just do hi, hello, that's it. But here, I think this is influenced by the local languages, because in the local languages, when you meet someone, you greet the person, maybe by the time of day, or maybe by the activity that the person is engaged in, or whatever. When you meet someone, that is usually the first thing that you do. So in the other cultures where you have the highs and the hellos that you start your interactions with, in Chi, I don't even know a hi or a hello in Chi. I've seen videos around where people are asking, oh, how do you say hi or hello in Chi and all that. And usually the responses to those that are found, they say it's either it's saying or what saying. But just note that these are how I use. When you say it's saying, literally you are asking, how is it? If you ask what is saying, you're asking, how are you? How is your body? They are using this because usually when you meet up with someone, that is like the first thing that most people use to start their interaction. But as to hi and then hello by itself, I don't know of an expression for that. So we have Kwabena machiu, Kwabena good morning. And then Kwabena responds to that with ya eja, ya eja. When the person who greeted you is old enough to be your father, you attach eja to ya. Ya is like the general response. But if the person is old enough to be your father, you add eja to it, and then you have ya eja. If the person is old enough to be your mother, you use ena here. Ena means mother. So you say ya ena, right? Ya ena. But again, be careful. You need to be sure that the person is old enough to be your mother, especially for the women. I was saying that for men don't really care about age stuff. But if a woman greets you, and let's say you mistakenly put her in an older bracket, right? And they refer to her as mother, possibly when she's not. Yeah, it can cause, a bit of, what I mean. So just be careful. So we have ya ena. If the person is your age mate, your brother, your friend, your schoolmate, you use nia, and we said nia is a sibling, and that can be a brother, a sister, a cousin. And in this context, this even includes friends, your age mates. If you are not sure where to put the person, right? You're not sure the bracket to put the person, whether the person is nia, ena, eja, the age of the person and all that, you can just stick to just this part. Yeah, and it should be fine. So if someone greets you and you're not sure, you can just say yeah, and that's fine. Now, Ejawusu comes in and says, Me pachel, umami ufi. Me pachel, umami ufi. So we have me pachel, which is please. This is the contracted form. The full form is me pachel. Me pachel, please. So me pachel, umami ufi. And I was saying that saying please, thank you, sorry, is a thing here, right? It comes from the local languages. Politeness is something that Ghanaians hold dear. So when you're in Ghana, you hear a lot of please, a lot of thank you, sorry, and all that. Sometimes that annoys foreigners because they are not used to that. But just know that it comes from the local languages. Politeness is key. So we have me pachel, please. Umami ufi, we talked about mami here as mother, right? So if you say umami, you are saying your mother. This wo is to be at, right? To be located. So you use this to talk about the location and existence of something. So right now, for example, I can say me wofie, right? Me wofie, I am home. Me papa wo ejumem. My father is at work. So if you want to talk about location, you use this wo. Fie is the home, the house. So if you ask umami wofie, you're asking, is your mother home? Your mother is home. So please, is your mother home? And to that, Kwabena says, me pachel Debbie. He said Debbie is no. And then he says, onifie. Now, the wo that we looked at here, this one, right? We said wo means to be located, to be at, right? Now, this wo is an irregular verb. Irregular verbs do not follow the standard rules of a language, the standard grammar rules of a language. So, for example, if you know anything about how we form negative verbs in Chi, you know they follow a certain rule, right? Set of rules. You can check out our lessons on negation. But the negative of this wo, which is to be at, right? We said is to be at, to be located. The negative of this wo is ni, to not be at, or to not be located. And if you know anything about the negation of chief verbs, you will know that this does not follow that rule because this is an irregular verb. So for irregular verbs, you just have to learn their negative. Just keep it as you encounter them. So right now that you've learned that the negative of wo is inni, just keep that. It will be the same forever, I promise. This or is he or she. But here we are talking about Kwabena's mother, so it's a she. So onifie, she is not home. Then Ejawusu asks, owohe, owohe. So again, the wo comes here, to be at, to be located. We have this he from a he, which is where, the question word where. Owohe, where is she? She is where. She is where. And then Kwabena says, okokrum, she has gone to town. Obeba breben, we have ba here, which is to come. This be is the future tense marker. So this is what you have in English as will, to indicate future. So she, be, will, ba, come. Breben, we have bre, which is time. And then we have this as what. So when you say breben, literally, you are asking what time, and you can use this to ask when. So, Obeba Brebe, when will she come back? She will come back what time? And then Kwabena says, Beye enyumre nonson. Beye enyumre nonson. We have beye, which is approximately, about, around. So, you're not given a specific time. You're just given an approximation. And you can use this with any number at all. So, for example, an amount. So I can say, for example, beye CD do, about 10 cedis. So we have do here as 10. So you can use this to say around or about or approximately. So here, he's using that to tell the time that the mother will be back. But he's not sure, so he's given an approximation. Beye enyumre nonson. We said enyumre is evening, right? Nonson is 7 o'clock. The son part, this part, comes from nson, and nson is the number 7. You have nson, and then we have the non, which comes from a don. A don is a clock. When you go to the Catholic Church, you see the clock, a don or adoma, right? Adoma is a clock. So you get the idea, right? When it strikes, then it strikes an o'clock. So when you attach this to the number, you get non-song as 7 o'clock. But there's enyumre, which makes it PM, right? So beye enyumre non-song. And then Ejawusi says, you. Enye mesayaba. He said you is okay, right? Enye, we said, is then from the first dialogue. Mesayaba. This sign is to return, to come back. So this is what you have in the Edinkra symbol Sankofa. I'm sure you've heard of this, right? Sankofa. So you have sign as return, right? Ko, to go, fa, to take. So return and take back what is for you. So return and reclaim your heritage. Sankofa. He says, "Enye mesan aba." You see that ba, to come, right? So mesan aba, when you say mesan aba, you're saying I'll come back, right? I'll go and then I'll come back. Mesan aba. And by the way, from our lesson on the sounds, the basic sounds of chi, I told you that if you come across a chi word that ends in this an, right, as in we don't pronounce it as you see it. This mostly gets pronounced as something like that. It's actually this I, right? So sign and not sun, right? So it's mesayaba, not mesan aba. Or mine, not oman. So it's omine, right? Kwabna responds to that with you. Okay, eja. Eja means father.